generally tonic herbalism. Look, so I'm gonna kind of like jump in and just like keep on ducking and weaving around tonic herbalism tonight. Some of you have seen me speak before. Some of you might have seen like some videos of mine. When I get FaceTime with you, I really like to go in a whole bunch of directions. I generally have a style of talking that can be quite erratic at times. Stick with me. If I'm driving a point and then I seem to go on a massive tangent, know that I have left a stake there and I will get back to my point eventually. Feel free to bring me back there if I go too far. And we're going to be talking for 2 hours tonight, which is a good stint, talking about springtime, the wood element, detoxification. I'll bring it back to tonic herbalism, but I'll also take it in some other directions because that's a really beautiful topic, talking about this springtime energy that's emerging. I'll also endeavour to keep this conversation not just focused on right now here in this spring, but rather blow that out into a context where you can start to perceive this time that's happening on the land right now, this time in the cycle, and what was actually happening within your body, within your organ function and your chi function, so that you can ground in some perception and some relevance into your life long term. That's really like what I want to like drive home here. And so I've got these booklets that I went and printed out for you today. That was a very last minute thing that I went and did. I went and pulled that up from detoxification talks that I was doing a couple of years ago. So we're not going to be really following that, that contents page tonight, but detox is such a huge conversation that I wanted to ensure that you guys had a little list of general products and functions of detoxifications, and that's what's there in that booklet. So feel free not to like really like, you know, be like following along on that booklet. There's a little bit of space in the back there for you to write upon. That's one of the things I love about having a little printout, is that if you don't have a booklet, you can actually write on the back of that. So there's some lines there at the back that you can jot down some notes, because I will be firing really fast at times. And if something really hits you and you intuitively feel like, you know, that's something I really should remember, you know, jot down a little word or like a couple of words or a sentence, just so you can like invoke that later on, because I will talk very fast and I might just like knock out that thing that you thought you'd never forget with the next 5 things that I say. So has everyone got a pen? You do or you don't? I don't know whether there are excess pens. Are there pens that we can hand out? Hey, Lil, everyone, are there any excess pens that we can hand out to everyone? Sorry, Lisa, you have any pens?
No. Sorry.
That's okay. Does everyone have a phone? Everyone have a phone? You can take notes in your phone as well. Okay, everyone's just taking some time to get some pens. And we've got a couple of excess pens here. If anyone wants to jump on that one, there's a pen right here. First, come on, who's going to get the pen? Who's going to get the pen? There's a pen right here. We're going to get the pen. We're going to get the pen. All right, everyone's getting themselves sorted. Oh my gosh, we've got 2 more pens. Hand them back there. We got one there. Oh, we got one over here. And then we need 1 extra back there. Is that right? Is it just 1 extra pen? You can share a pen. Hang on. 1 sec. I'm going to see whether...
Oh my God, I do.
I was journaling. It's next to my bed back in Frio. You got it. You got 2. Jeez, all right, we're rocking. This is a community. Okay, so let's dive in. Everyone ready? So my name's Mason Taylor. I have the business called SuperFeast. That's the herbs and the thing that I've been doing since 2011. Some of you might know me and come along to, because you've heard me spruik and tonic herbs for a while. Beautiful opportunity while I'm en route to go to Bali. I had to stop into Perth because I really love this community. I was here like maybe April. Yeah, right. You're on to Fibonacci. And it was really nice. It was the first time I'd been to Perth since Feb last year. First time I've been talking at Perth, and I really liked what was going on here, and so I wanted to come back and talk to everyone again. So I'm glad I got that opportunity. Some of you might have been dragged along here tonight, or don't know who I am, or who SuperFeast are, or what medicinal mushrooms are, or what tonic herbalism is. Awesome. I will do my best to bring some context around what I'm talking about. I generally like talking about health. I generally like talking about longevity. I like to try and ensure that isn't a really fantastical conversation, one that uses, spirit finger marketing terms to try and put products or things on pedestals. I really like especially to drive these tonic herbs. It's been an interesting thing. I won't go into it because I've talked about it before in the last workshop, and I want to get onto spring cleaning and detoxification and all that beautiful context. But some of you have heard me talk about the fact that I do have a product business. I'm driving forward with my passion with herbalism, and it's been years. It's taken years of process of me to really get comfortable, come to terms with having products and drawing relevance to that. And I like to quickly tell that story often of that woman, the mum that really helped drop that in when I was at French's Forest Markets in Sydney. And Mum of Four came up and was just like, I'd love to get these medicinal mushrooms. Are you talking about them? I'd like to get them for my kids and rah, rah. And I was just like, oh, you know what, Trish, you've got you can go and forage them yourself. I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. You can go forage them here. You can get turkey tails from Lane Cove National Park. And she's like, 4 kids, mate. Full-time job. 2 of my kids are autistic. No, I don't have time for that shit. Give me the mushroom powder. And it went a little bit deeper than that. But that was that could be seen as a bypass thing. That was definitely a threat in my mentality to see that as a bypass, because I'm so for foraging and getting in nature and getting into communion with these herbs. It's not just a convenience thing that I do SuperFeast via. It is very much a relevance thing in the culture, and there's many people that I wish to give the opportunity, including myself and my family, access to tonic herbs and medicinal mushrooms, especially from a tradition like Taoist tonic herbalism, ancient Chinese tonic herbalism, and that's kind of why I'm doing this thing. I'm just quickly trying to give you this context so you can know who I am and know that ideally hope, I hear you as quickly I can go into this conversation knowing that, I'm not some dude just trying to randomly spruik some fucking product that you can just, get you to buy up and guzzle up as much as possible without intention behind it. Everyone feel me with that? That was a really dehydrating little rant. So I just really want to make that clear. And here we are on the cusp of springtime. I don't know what you guys are feeling. Obviously you guys are into your herbs. You're nerdy enough to come and talk about medicinal mushrooms on a Thursday night with me rather than going and rocking it in East Perth. Is that where we are right now? Yeah. There's many things you could be doing. You guys are barefoot. You're getting in the sun. You're taking your herbs. Here you are talking to me. You're in perception of the land and the seasons and the energies that are coming through. Are you guys feeling it here that wintertime yin energy is cracked and spring is emerging? Yes. Some of you yes, some of you no. There's a mix at the moment. It's what I get as well. Byron, it's super cracked. And it might. People could say that that's because of the drought that's happening right now. But there was a big cracking energy a couple of weeks ago and really feel spring emerging, and I feel here that it's not, we're kind of a little bit behind in that sense, and we're on that cusp, which makes it even more relevant for us to be talking about this as we're on that, we've been in that water element of winter where it's very yin, very dormant and very restorative, very much that time of Jing energy. And a lot of you would be aware of that term Jing. Hands up if you know Jing. Jing. Okay, beautiful. A few, and some of you may be just coming like into contact with tonic herbalism. So let me quickly get to that point and talking about Jing and that energy within the body, because it is very relevant for talking about this emerging springtime, the emergence of yang, the emergence of warmth, the emergence of expansion, the immersion of a bit more forcefulness, and therefore the emergence of that wood element and the creativity and the vision and all that brings forth. And I'm really going to try and make that not like la-di-da conversation, because I had a bit of a hard time through my days really wrapping my head and heart around that TCM idea around the elements and around the water element and the wood element, and just be like, yeah, great, what have you done for me lately? What's the relevance in my life? What's the real perceivable relevance in me harmonizing my emotions and harmonizing my health? And of course that was there. That was my Western dickhead mind, not having the patience, which is an absolute aspect of the liver springtime wood energy. And now I feel like I've just kind of settled down a little bit, and I've been patient enough to start to perceive that. I'm going to try and make that very relevant for you, and then drive that into detoxification protocols, supplementation protocols, and herbal protocols. Is that cool? Does that sound good? You guys are with me? So, Jing energy, just briefly, it's one of the three treasures of Taoist herbalism, but Taoist philosophy. Just going to drive forth the fact that I'm not a Taoist. I generally don't prescribe to isms, but I like Taoist philosophy because it really bridges terminology over to our Western cerebral minds that we can kind of like sink our teeth into a little bit, and then therefore use our logic and our mind to really then go forth through the mind and connect with the body. And Jing energy is one of those treasures. The three treasures are Jing, Qi, and Shen. So we can relate to Qi as like all energy, but then we're going to dilute that down in here and get a little bit more specific with Jing. Jing is that energy that lives within the kidneys. It is our genetic potential, our lifespan, our capacity for endogenous energy. So not energy that we have because we drank a shitload of Red Bulls and now we can get up and go, or have like we smashed a double espresso and now we can get up and go. Endogenous energy, sustainable energy. Kind of like Victor Schauberger energy, free energy sources within the body, rather than like living off like the coal-based, non-sustainable, non-renewable energy that we're currently coming out of in the Industrial Revolution, which is like smash coffee, use motivation, use affirmations or Tony Robbins to get us through the day, versus like use our own momentum and our own kidney essence, and a lifestyle that is sustainable to ensure that we're not burning the candle at both ends and burning through our lifespan, that we maintain our capacity every day to get up and go via our own momentum. That's what Jing energy is. It's our genetic potential, our capacity to have foundations, have solid soil, it's a metaphor, within our body, so that we can sprout the seeds, the genetic seeds, as we go along in life when those seeds wish to sprout. Follow me? In the right appropriate time, not forcing that genetic expression, so that we can go in life and just have a nice, long, healthy life. Basically, that's it. That Jing energy makes it possible for matter in this world to have the experience of being birthed, growing, maturing, and then going into that cycle of decaying and death. That's Jing energy. And that lives in our kidneys and our adrenals. A lot of you have really felt that sting in Western society. There's that drive to burn it at both ends. You start sacrificing that energy, right? You start burning through that candle too quick. And that's never a nice feeling. And again, a lot of you are nerdy enough to be here on a Thursday night, so you're obviously in perception of this Jing energy, because that's one thing I want to drive forth, just because I'm talking about it with new terms like Jing for some of you, or using analogies like a candle and burning it at both ends and burning through your energy. That doesn't mean you need to learn something new. You've already perceived it. I'm just using stories and metaphors because that's something I will continually drive in, is that you've all felt this shit already, and like, don't take it, don't allow it to be some irrelevant new concept that you don't have a grasp of, drive it into your lifestyle and what you've already perceived and make it very relevant. You dig? That's Jing energy. That is what we are kind of coming out of, is that time of winter, water element, kidney organ system, time of absolute regeneration. We've just come out of doing a campaign, last day of 30 days of Jing. Does anyone follow along 30 days of Jing? It's cool, a lot of new faces. I'm loving this. 30 days of Jing. We do it in winter where we get people onto Jing. Nice save. Nearly, that would have been funny. That's good instincts. Good Jing. Jing energy that lives in the kidneys, everything that I was talking about. Now, yes, there are herbs that we can use. And again, I'm going to put this in context of, I'm not saying just take these herbs, you will build back your Jing. It is an entire lifestyle shift, but there are particular herbs, and tonic herbalism in general is classified by herbs which will tone the treasures, Jing, Qi, and Shen. I'll get to the other two in a second in explaining those. But that Jing energy is a very important foundation, and in the West we start by focusing on Jing energy. And there are particular herbs which we classify as Jing herbs, which are very specifically toning that function, that kidney meridian function, that kidney organ function, that adrenal cortex function, and our capacity to handle stress and continue to really release an array of sex hormones that aren't dominated by stress hormones, because that excess of cortisol is something that's indicative to a leaking of Jing. Yeah? Everyone walking, you can imagine the CBD, needing to smash a couple of coffees in the day to get through, not loving what you're doing, staying stagnant, that is just constantly being in exhaustion and needing external remedies in order to get through. That is a real classic Jing deficiency and a lifestyle that has basically had you leaking Jing. Now, that's a very colourful conversation. I'm not talking black and whites. That person's leaking Jing, that person's not. But that's just you get what I mean, right? Because in the West, we were like, and I know I've been there, I'm just like, am I leaking Jing or am I not? No, I'm not leaking Jing. Like, it's a very colourful conversation. It's a very ongoing conversation. Don't get too stuck on the specifics. But we do have herbs like the root Hishu Wu. And at SuperFeast, just for some of you who might be on this level, we don't just do medicinal mushrooms. So that's something that often, because we're so known for medicinal mushrooms, no, that's not what we do. We do tonic herbalism. At the moment, specifically Taoist tonic herbalism, and one of those tonic herbs are medicinal, is the group medicinal mushrooms. So these Jing herbs, Hishu Wu, the root, beautiful yin herb, Eucomia bark, so the bark, beautiful rubber tree, the bark of the rubber tree. That is a beautiful yang Jing herb, so restoring those foundations on that level. Cordyceps is the leading Jing medicinal mushroom. That's the athletic herb. I don't know if some of you have seen the Father's Day campaign where I've been depicting various dads. Active dad is the dad that loves those medicinal mushrooms, stamina, athletic capacity. I also like to drive forth that a herb like cordyceps specifically, or Jing herbs in general, but specifically cordyceps is like 70 plus. That's the herb I'd have you on, primarily. People think like athleticism, right, gains. I've got like a lot of CrossFitters just like now coming at us and they're getting onto the cordyceps. I like, because in the beginning it's a very immediate intention that they have for a goal in expanding their potential. But what comes forth is when you get onto tonic herbs and they've got to focus on nourishing specific organ function or cardiovascular system function, you are looking at a more sustainable training routine and more stamina, because you're not depleting your organs and your glands and your hormonal system with your workout routine, right? You're not just using supplements that are driving you to an outcome without a realization that we do need some restoration in order to have a nice, long, healthy life. And that's something that's really beautiful and important that's coming through. But that cordyceps at the same time, yeah, heaps of athletes and young men and women getting onto that, but I like to see 70 plus cordyceps as that mushroom that people get onto, right? And so that's because Yes, it's restoring kidney essence and kidney energy. We're coming out of that winter season. A lot of you would have felt that down regulation of energy, that winter time, that restoration, really time to nourish. Some of you might have resisted it. My God, I resist it heavily. You know, I've got a 1-year-old, I've got a business, got a fiance, got passions, still go, 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 go. I'm very much a fiery personality. I'm very much a fire element type. But you can't deny, if you slow down, you feel the energy of the land and the time, if that's what was happening. Even with your thought forms and what you were looking at like doing in your life, it's just consolidating efforts. It's important to reflect on that. Not that I'm giving you absolutes, but these are just general ideas and observations that I have, and I'll definitely be giving you resources to go and research this further for yourself. So please just take everything that I say with a grain of sea salt, and then go on and educate yourself, and just like take some clues if possible, or even bump up against what I'm saying and use that as momentum to go forth and research it further. That Jing energy that we're emerging out of, that yin and that beautiful time of dormancy, that Jing energy is the house of the home of capacity for life itself within all the other organs and cells within our body. It's why it's a very important time that we're emerging. Yes, we're here to talk about springtime. It's in a detoxification seminar. It doesn't feel like a seminar, but a detoxification talk that we're going through right now. But in order to get context around that, it's important to see what we're emerging out of, especially in the herbal tradition that I'm coming from. And so just be aware that we're going to be talking about the liver, because we come into springtime, we come into the wood element, we're talking about detoxification. We're going to have to focus on and talk about the liver. But in order for that liver to have the capacity and the life to keep doing what it does, maintain its function, its song and dance, it really relies upon those deep roots of the kidney organ system and that Jing energy. So indicative of this entire ongoing conversation is to ensure that, one, you've got a sustainable lifestyle. And this always takes years. You're here reflecting on that right now, and I'm here to remind you again to ensure that you are living sustainably within your lifestyle, and you are burning, using, and restoring your energy in a way that is relative to you in a decade's span, right? You've got to, I feel a good practice is to think decades in terms of how you're using your energy and what you want your health to look like. Yes, we need short-term goals, but you also fray out with your intention as far as you can, 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years into the future, and really feel where you wish to be going. Now, that's not going to be an exact vision, but it's going to be a feeling or an essence of the intention of where you're going to be going. Everyone with me? We're kind of like flying off of a little bit into the esoteric realms, but I hope this is very groundable into your lives at all times. I really hope that's the case. By the way, guys, toilet out there to the left. And I think they're open. They were locked before, and I hope there were just 2 people in them. But I think they're generally open. Otherwise, ask Lil, and she might have a key for you. For you people on Facebook, your toilets are wherever you are residing. So that Jing energy is something worth considering and constantly having an awareness of, especially in the Western culture. It's worth driving in this Western culture because we are consistently deficient in it. And the number one thing we have coming back at us at SuperFeast or in my own personal work is I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out. And sometimes that's because we've been a little bit irresponsible with our energy. I know I kind of got to that place when I was like bartending, being a ski instructor, traveling around the world. I kind of got there myself with my lifestyle. But it's a lot of the time it happens to be come about through circumstance, especially, like the constant archetype, mum of 4, full time, trying to still maintain a vision of the family, bring affluence to the family. They're at some point in that equation, generally some exhaustion or adrenal tap out is going to come in. And so just don't get your finger off the pulse in considering that. Never take that finger off that pulse. At times you might need to be hustling and burning it at both ends, but always just have that gentle consideration that you need to bring your lifestyle and your herbal practice into consortium with restoring that Jing energy and ideally not burning it. So it's okay to get tired, but it's not okay to get exhausted, because that exhaustion is a real sign that you are starting to chip away the wax off that candle and throw it in the furnace so you can get that energy drive to get you through the day. You dig? Yeah? So we're going to be talking about detoxification, and at times detoxification is jumped at as something to make us feel better. I'll do another 5-day juice fast. I'll do another liver flush. I'll take MSM to detox my liver. And that's all well and good, and we're going to get to that stuff, but unless you have those deep roots and that healthy soil within your body and those foundations, generally I don't know if that's the best thing to do. Now, that's especially if you have a constitution that's generally quite depleted. You want to restore before you go into heavy detoxification practices, and you want to be gently tiptoeing between that restoring and detoxification, right? Anabolic and catabolic. You don't want to be excessive in any which way. Some people are very heavily yang, very heavily congested, have strong constitutions that have a lot of Jing already. At that point, it might be a little bit more appropriate to do some heavy cleansing off the bat to bring some cooling through the body. Everyone feel me on that? And so that's important to be a little bit real about your constitution and where you're at with where you came from in terms of how much Jing you were born with, what your postnatal Jing is, whether it's whether you've depleted it, whether you need to restore in order to go forth in your detoxification. Cool? And so that Jing is that first treasure. The Qi is that treasure in which, and I'd say the first treasure, Jing, Qi, Shen, the treasures, they're all the same energy, but we can differentiate them. Much the same that mist, ice, and water are the same thing, but we can differentiate them in different forms. Same way we can go nice solid form, Jing, living in the kidneys, like matter, stamina, bone strength, marrow strength, genetic potential, our power, right? Our endurance. Qi is same energy, but a different form. That Qi moving through our body is about vitality, about mobilization, animation of our body, and moving nutrients and moving blood and moving hormones and allowing the channels of communication, whether it's electromagnetic communications through the meridians or photon-based communications through our fascia and the other networks within our body. That's vitality. And so I'm using a lot of words here, and sometimes it's important for you guys to remember that you just got to kick the feet of the mind up sometimes and go on this ride, and just jot it down a couple of things that are relevant to you, a couple of words here and there, and remember that this is about generally experiencing something within your body so that tonic herbal practice and detoxification has a bit more direct relevance for you and your body and your life and your family. Everyone dig me on that? And so that Qi energy, when you break it down though, generally that's your vitality. You're able to move your body, animate your body, showing your joints aren't so stiff so that you can feel that animation really can move through those deep crevices in your body and through your fascial system. Everyone feel me on that? And then that third treasure, Shen, so we've gone Jing, J-I-N-G, and then Qi, which is Q-I or C-H-I, if you wish to go down that route. Shen's that third treasure, which it's generally we can relate to that as our spirit that's emerging from the heart system, the heart organ. That's where our virtues emerge from, our patience, our compassion, our courage. Generally our vision associated with those attributes, our highest qualities. Basically, not being an arsehole and being in resonance with yourself so that you can bring a little bit more wisdom in your life, maybe some, you can bring some reflection, right? You can bring some presence, and you can therefore bring into some contribution to yourself and your community and the outer community. Everyone dig me on that? So they're those three treasures, Jing, Qi, and Shen. Jing, very important step. And so we generally, when people are coming in and going, where do I start with tonic herbalism? And let's just quickly reflect tonic herbalism. Is anyone, if I ask anyone here, are they able to give me like a description of what tonic herbalism is? I mean, it's a very slippery conversation. It's not like talking about like an adaptogen, which maybe I should go in and clarify this right now. So tonic herbalism, I'm talking about a style of herbalism which we really, it's been around since humanity has been around and probably prior, but we especially see it being classified and described by Shen Nong around 200 BC in China, drawing on the wisdom of thousands of years, many medicine men and women, and lots of traditions. And Shen Nong in the Ben Sao Jing, the divine farmers, materia medica, bringing forth the materia medica, or a classification of herbalism, so that it can be taken by people that are moving away from the land and more into civilization. So we can know, right, that herb is classified for that, it's indicated for that. We take it at this time. It's what a herbal materia medica is. Very useful when we're living in a city right now. It's been very useful for me. I didn't grow up on the land. I don't particularly know, oh yeah, if I have that symptom, bang, I go for that herb right there and then. So it's become very useful, and that's when it started to emerge, that awareness around that time, 200 BC, and so we get Shen Nong bringing forth that materia medica. 3 classifications of herbs come forth, lower, middle, and upper herbs, and that hierarchy is only there in the sense that lower herbs, extreme symptoms, you use those herbs in order to drive the body in one direction very quickly. They're very audacious herbs. If you take them ongoingly, there's going to be a lot of contraindications. Middle herbs, those herbs, mid of the range, where maybe some ongoing symptoms you need to get a hold of. You need white blood cell count down. You need T1 cell, immune cells down in autoimmune conditions. We can take them for, in a rotating basis or a limited amount of time, but they will have contraindications eventually. That's not something that we'd consider like a herb to be in our diet. The upper herbs, or in a more exact translation, superior herbs, are the herbs, the tonic herbs that we're talking about that I like working with, and these are the ones that they're gentle enough to be incorporated into your diet ongoingly. Yes, they can be used clinically. So the herbs we use, of course, they can be used clinically. There are people who go to reishi to help to manage symptoms of anxiety, for example, or Schizandra berry for extreme menopausal conditions, or deer antler for extreme menopausal conditions, or when there's polycystic ovaries, in order to bring some energy back to the liver and back to the sex organ system. We can use it clinically, and I have a lot of practitioners using it in that sense. But the most important thing with tonic herbs that after that clinical setting, you can bridge it over and ensconce it into the lifestyle, or into your apothecary, or into your kitchen, and use it ongoingly, just like a herb that you will ongoingly throw into your stock, into your soup that you serve up for the family, so that there are immunological factors and adaptogenic factors, substances that are helping the body to be nourished so that it can stay adaptogenic in a hormonal sense, so that you can ensure that we're getting ahead of the curve when it comes to our health, so that we're not just waiting for symptoms and illness to happen before we act. Everyone dig me on that? So that's basically what tonic herbalism is. I'm definitely not spruiking the fact that these tonic herbs are just like, oh, they're fine, have as many as you want and have any of them, and yeah, they're adaptogenic. What do you got? What do you got? Sore knees? Adaptogens. What do you got? Financial problems? Adaptogens. Like it's like headache, anything, which is, rather than being a classification, tonic herbalism then got a tonic herb classification. We all clear on, as I've just gone through, what tonic herbs are. And then under tonic herbalism, you've got many types of herbs. So yes, we have medicinal mushrooms like chaga and reishi and cordyceps. Yes, we have the barks like eucommia bark, and roots like hishawu and romania, and berries like schizandra berry and goji berry, so on and so forth. And then we can take one of those herbs like chaga, and that's a medicinal mushroom, and we can start classifying that, especially in a Western sense, herbal sense. We can go, right, it's anti-inflammatory, wonderful. It's hepatoprotective, so it protects the liver, which is in case I don't get back to this, the fact that the medicinal mushrooms and generally tonic herbs, but especially the medicinal mushrooms, are protective of the liver, they are hepatoprotective, is a huge reason, I think, why they're gaining so much popularity and why they're so effective in the long term. because protecting liver function, especially in this Western world where it's so toxic, where there's so many environmental and metabolic toxicity occurring within the body, you kind of need to protect the liver. You need to be protecting the tissue of the liver and toning the function of the liver so that it can maintain its song and dance in the body. Not necessarily just taking herbs, although I love these herbs, not necessarily just taking herbs or supplements that drive phase 1 detoxification or drive phase 2 detoxification, but herbs like the medicinal mushrooms that are building up the immunity, like reishi for example, to protect the liver from viral load, or like chaga, that are protecting the liver from bacterial load. Generally, those medicinal mushrooms are liver hepatoprotective. You can forget that now, right? You just have that intention that you have in bringing medicinal mushrooms, whether it's like the blend of medicinal mushrooms, which is a really easy place to start, 8 medicinal mushrooms, and you get that vibe in there, Mason's mushrooms, just in case you go, like, I had to put my name on it. Or whether it's specific herbs like chaga that you want to work deeper with. Don't get too caught up in like, which one do I go to and which one do I choose? If you're just starting out, the blends are an amazing place to start. The Mason's mushrooms blend, amazing place to start. And you can forget the fact that they're hepatoprotective. The idea is that you forget it. You might have a general intention there that leads you there, but you know that you've got ensconced into your lifestyle flow and your diet and your culture foods that are generally protecting your liver. In your diet, of course, it's not just about herbalism, but in your tonic herbal practice. It's one of the reasons I think that medicinal mushrooms are so hot right now, and why like Tim Ferriss and Joe Rogan and all these people are frothing on them, and why Whole Foods is like, you know, naming it the 2018 trend of the year in health, is because there's so many aspects of these herbs. They're so dynamic and multi-directional and multi-dimensional that you can really ensure that you've got many facets covered in your health in the long term with them. That's what tonic herbalism is all about. Everyone dig me on that. And so, remember we were talking in the classifications, right? Tonic herbs, different types of herbs, anti-inflammatory, hepatoprotective. Chaga might be antiviral, antibacterial. It might be immunomodulating, right? And immunostimulating. It might be classified that in the herbal sense. But then the other classification is going to be adaptogenic. And so a lot of you would have heard, hands up if you've heard of the term adaptogenic, and that's cool. So like some of you have, for those of you that haven't, it's a classification, a Western classification of herbs, especially we kind of see it in Russia in the 70s, really like coming out as a scientific classification of a herb that when you take it, it doesn't cause any additional harm or stress on the body. And I like to add a little echelon of that when taken in an appropriate dose, okay? Because I like talking about adaptogens right here and now with you guys, because in the marketing sense, in the herbal world, it's a fucking hot topic, and it's a hot word right now, and it's really been dangled in front of the donkey, carrot in front of the donkey, in terms of like, that's like, take an adaptogens, oh my gosh, I love adaptogens, hashtag adaptogens, get 20 extra people liking my photo because I hashtag adaptogens. And I love them, of course. I've been banging on them for a while, but then you had that little realization that, oh man, this is getting going a little bit too far, and it's getting a little bit too markety, and it's not landing with relevance into someone's home and culture, especially is it landing in the mother's herbal wheel who's got 4 kids to worry about, or the dad that's got a couple of kids to worry about? Is it landing there in relevance rather than not being just some buzzy marketing term? Everyone dig me on that? Very important for you guys to get context and awareness around adaptogens for that. So in an appropriate dose, and this is where tonic herbs come in, and the idea is to take appropriate, somewhat small, responsible doses over a long period of time. Not that they're dangerous to take in large doses. I took 2 tablespoons of reishi mushroom extract powder for 2 years straight. I fasted on it for 10 days. I felt it was wonderful for me. I was also in my early 20s, and I also just needed to feel something. And it did help me feel something. You know, it's quite a spiritual herb, reishi mushroom. It allowed me to feel my immune system, but that's not necessary, right? And so that tonic herbal practice, long-term usage, an appropriate amount of herbs that is sustainable, yeah? And so in that sense, they aren't going to cause any additional harm or stress on the body. That's that first classification of an adaptogen. That second classification is that they accumulate in benefits over time. And so some of you have heard me talk about this, but yes, they accumulate in chemical benefits, in say like we're talking about reishi mushroom accumulating over time in toning that capacity of the bone marrow to build a capacity to produce white blood cells and then hold white blood cell count within the body, and that includes many other functions in the body. It's why I like herbs generally long-term over drugs, is that they have that holistic intelligence within the herb that is going to be toning many functions and many systems within the body, rather than a drug that's just going to be directly, in a reductionist sense, focusing on one part of the body. Remember we were talking about lower, middle, and upper herbs? Those lower herbs are kind of like the closest correlation in the herbal kingdom to a drug, right? One direction, one specific place that they're going to in the body, and one outcome or marker that you're going to see shifting. Everyone feel me on that? And so I'm not against drugs, I just think they need to like sit on their ass and learn their place, as do herbs. As do herbalists, and as do doctors, and every practitioner. Because then we're all just sitting around the campfire. Yeah? And so that's that second classification. It's accumulating in benefits over time. That's why it just kind of seems to get better the longer you take tonic herbs and medicinal mushrooms. Then that third classification is that they're multi-directional. And then they're not just driving the body or the immune system or T cells in one direction, not just driving it up, not just driving it down, not just driving cortisol up, not just driving it down, but they're taking the body via toning the tissue in the direction that it needs to go, right? And that's just restoring and working with the intelligence of the body. That's why it's important not to overdo it and take necessarily like way too much, that the herb does overcome the intelligence of where the body wants to go. And so sometimes you'll feel that little instinct like, all right, I'm going to like give that a break. I'm going to lower the dose a little bit. Or I'm going to up the dose of that one. My body, my intention's driving in that direction. Liver, baby, Shazandra. I'm going to get on that beauty bar. I'm going to hit it hard and go for it, and then trust your instincts when it's time to like lower that dose and then take it into circulation. Don't get stuck on this, do I need to take it every day? And also don't get stuck in the mentality of like, am I allowed to keep on taking it every day? Absolutely. We just finished 30 days of Jing, people restoring their kidney adrenal essence, having great benefits, coming off coffee and caffeine and starting getting onto Jing herbs and regenerating that kidney essence. We've got a Jing blend. I don't know if you've got Jing blend or not, but if you do, that'd be wonderful. Otherwise, there's like, oh, you do? Sweet. Otherwise, Hishawu, Eukomia, these Jing herbs, get on them and restore. And if you're feeling it, if your body's gobbling it up, keep on going. And you'll find that you hit a point where you go, cool, time to circulate, right? I've nourished that aspect, and now I know that herbal friend, and it's in my apothecary, in my repertoire. I'm going to circulate that now. Everyone with me? So those are the three classifications of adaptogenic herbs. And this is tonic herbalism. Tonic herbs, generally from the Taoist sense, although we can apply this to a planetary system in describing herbs in general, because we're not rooted in one philosophy or one system here, or the terminology that I'm talking about. We're ideally using that to help us get a grasp of what's going on in our body in the natural world and with herbs. So you have to be able to apply the terms Jing, Qi, and Shim to other herbs from the Ayurvedic system, the Rasayanas, or the Amazonian system, or herbs emerging here in Australia. Otherwise, it's ideological. Does everyone feel me on that? Yeah? And so we constantly want to make sure that we're like dancing across the edges of these philosophies and these ideologies and these particular traditions, and drawing what's going to be relevant for us to really get badass health in our own body and our own organ systems. We've heavily talked about Jing, that water element and that restoration element. I think it's a good place to generally start in ensuring that you have that restored in your lifestyle and really getting to know your element system, the way your organs work and the way that your energy works. And guys, fuck what anyone else says. You figure out what works for you, and you work sustainably in developing your lifestyle flow in around what you can perceive. Everyone feel me on that? Because otherwise, the ongoing detoxification and removing environmental and metabolic toxins from the body and ensuring that you have strong general detoxificative capacity and strong liver health, it just won't be at optimal. And so that's something that I really invite you to continue to consider for, I don't know, like 10 years? Will you take on 10 years considering that? I think that's pretty reasonable. I think that's good. I'm still going. And I probably will be for the next 50 years, because the ideal intention behind this whole practice is a nice, long, healthy life. Yeah? So that you can what? I don't know. Continue to have really beautiful interactions with your family or your friends or your community. You can get to 80 or 90 or 100 and still maintain a good philosophical or political conversation that really impacts you or your community. You can still run up a hill. You can still, I don't know, in my sense, I want to be body surfing. You know, that's like, I want to be body surfing at 100. Like, and it's kind of like, that one's like, that's graspable. It's a low impact sport. I want to be body surfing the wedge at 100. Does anyone know the wedge break? You know, just like go on Instagram and look at the wedge. It's a really beautiful break and it's crushing. But that's relevant to me, you know. I'm now experiencing a whole new level with a 1-year-old daughter in my life. You know, of relevance of like, I come out of the conceptual conversations about why I want to be healthy in a competitive sense, and it starts coming back into something that's very relevant in order so I can continue to connect with her children, my family, keep holding that family prayer nice and strong. Yeah? That's very relevant to me. It's not crystal clear, but there's some aspects of it there that are helping me clarify why I would want a nice, long, healthy life. And it brings to a lot of patience, right? And forgiveness of myself from how I was approaching it before. And that leads us into the liver. And that leads us into the wood element that emerges here in springtime, right? We're talking about general storytelling, kind of Taoist, traditional Chinese element theory when I say the wood element. We don't get too attached to the fact that it's wood. It's just a nice little landing spot and story. But when we talk about the wood element, which is generally a representation of how a particular line of qi or electromagnetic energy or vital energy moves through our body and moves through our meridian system, is felt and perceived. And we put the story or the external reference of wood in nature to understand how that qi is moving through our body. And that wood element happens to be highly correlated, well, not highly, is correlated, because we perceive the liver and the gallbladder, qi and that energy, and how the energy moves through that whole line within our body. We correlate that to wood to get like a representation so we can feel it in our body a little bit more clearly and crisply. I'm going to really add the caveat here that in talking about elemental theory, it's not my specialty, I just love it. But if you want to dive a little bit more into it, there is a beautiful book I love spruiking by Charles Moss called Power of the 5 Elements. And I really enjoy it, especially because, like, in terms of the 5 elements, metal, earth, water, wood, fire, that relate to the 5 major organ systems, there's generally a king pin or a queen pin in where the energy really concentrates in our constitution and our body. And if you focus on the qi through that organ system, so for me, generally the heart, the fire element is my kingpin, my queen pin. I focus on that, how the qi flows through that area. I can really release the pressure, most emotional pressure and health pressure in the way that I approach life. You can really get some clues in focusing on what your primary element is, or which organ has the majority of qi or accumulation of qi, or has the greatest impact on how qi flows through your entire body by focusing on that system. And the virtues that emerge from that flow of qi and that organ. So, to bring into context what those virtues are, we're talking about the liver system, and yes, we're talking about the physical liver organ and the physical organ of the gallbladder, but we're also talking about the liver system, capital L, liver system that incorporates all the nuances that enable the function of the wood element to come forth and the entire meridian line. So don't worry about that too much, but that's generally, I just wanted to throw that caveat out there. Still with me? Are you with me? And so when we land in patience and forgiveness, especially emerging from winter, we start focusing on the emotional and general ensconced virtues of that wood element, of springtime. I really feel like it is something to focus on in this season internally, not as just some airy, fairy, bloody affirmation thing that you sit in front of the mirror and go, I forgive you, I am patient, as something because someone tells you to do it, but because you can start to really tune into the emergence of, on the other side of that, the resentment or the frustration or the anger or the hostility, not as something that's just like who I am or just what I have, but possibly that's emerging due to a particular flow of qi through an organ system, right? And then that leads to an emergence of those emotions coming forth. Now, this is a very important topic when we go into tonic herbalism. And I'm sorry, guys, but I've got your FaceTime. I'm going to bloody talk about it, all right? And yes, I'll talk about herbs at some point. But this is the aspect of tonic herbalism that I need to drive forth to ensure that doesn't continue to be like a short-term grabbing for a solution. And tonic herbalism is so heavily ensconced in the movement of qi through organ systems. And if we're going to be taking herbs like Schisandra berry, which is my favorite herb for the liver and for toning the detoxification pathways of the liver. Schisandra berry. Shazam! Schisandra berry, that's my favorite. The quintessential herb, 5-flavor fruit, enters all 5 of the organs, all 5 elements. Jing, Qi, Shen, Toni. Each of the meridians. But highly focused on the liver organ system. Beautiful springtime herb. If I'm going to be talking about Schisandra, beauty blend. Heavily liver-focused blend. Schisandra berry, goji berry, longanberry. The 3 beauty berries. 3 beauty berry. It sounds like such a promotion. The 3 beauty berry Mr. Sheens of the ancient Taoist system that will come through and scrub up your liver. If I'm going to be talking about them and what they do for bringing through an endogenous internal exertion of radiance and beauty through toning organ function and liver function, which is why I created Beauty Blend, and why, despite my inner turmoil, I called it Beauty Blend, which I just couldn't shake it, but it allows an inner perception of organ function to be our reference point for where beauty emerges from, or where radiance emerges from. Allow it to not be ongoingly allow it to not be some like external reference point, which I know a lot of you aren't going to Cosmo and Harbour Bazaar to learn what's beautiful in order to judge yourself. You all have done a lot of work around that, but then we need to be able to take it further with our herbal practice and our internal practices to really tune in to organs and particular functions and particular detox pathways that allow that beauty to come forth and that radiance to come forth. You dig? So if I'm going to be talking about these herbs like Schisandra, like the herbs in Beauty Blend, if I'm going to be talking about herbs that protect the liver, like reishi mushroom, and specifically help the immune system surrounding the liver to protect it from viral load, and reishi going into the extent of helping tone histamine production and helping the body really balance how it reacts to allergens, and ideally along with the fact that it is also a lung toning herb, reishi mushroom really helping you to get a herbal hand on how you react to things that are stimulating an allergen response, right? If I'm going to be talking about these things, at some point, we need to correlate to the flow of qi through the body. And we need to make that an accessible conversation. And that's why I like talking about the elements, because if we focus all the time on the physical, we put a glass ceiling on ourselves, always looking for, like possibly like a symptom, a thing we're feeling that's wrong, I don't know what my stimulation or my motivation is for taking my herbs. I'm just waiting, like, I've got this problem. And that's a very allopathic world. It's a very practitioner world, right? To get into the realms of long-term intention, that to the outside of you can seem ambiguous, but to your inner perception, you've been on the prevention bandwagon, you've been on the front foot for your family, toning the immune system and the organ function preventatively. We need to be tuning into the flow of qi in our body because it's more subtle, right? And it's very relevant to you. And if we can start perceiving that, it makes it easier for us to incorporate herbs and other health practices or a general lifestyle or a mindset that's going to lead to longevity, not based on what the issue is or the pain point is or the symptom is. You dig? And so when we're looking at that liver system, as qi moves through the liver meridian and the physical liver organ, as you get blockages, and now this is especially if you're a wood archetype, if you're a wood type, then you are going to feel this very heavily. But we all have a liver, and we all have that qi moving through the liver, therefore that expression of the wood element in it. So we'll all be able to perceive this to an extent. Now, just a caveat on that wood element system, maybe get some clues about what's dominant in your body, but don't get too over-identified with, I'm a wood element. Oh, I'm always going to be angry, and I always need to be in control, and I'm just a visionary because I'm a wood element. Or like me, I'm fire. I'm just so out there. You just can't tame me. I just need to create at all times. I'm just so up. And you can use that as a caveat and excuse for your fucking responsibility, right? This is just clues of how you work and the qi works in your body. Drive it into relevance in your body. Is everyone with me? Everyone think we're going to be talking about just reishi mushroom and just reishi mushroom is a wonderful medicinal mushroom. It's this particular mushroom is a red polypore. It's highly anti-inflammatory, very, very beautiful lung tonic, and for allergies, clinically used for asthma and cardiovascular issues and bringing down cholesterol and turning the body's capacity to regulate HDL and LDL. It's also a beautiful longevity tonic, good for meditative practices. Like that, yeah, great. Like that stuff's good. I've got like a podcast coming around like reishi purely where I'll be able to go into it for like an hour, breaking all that stuff down. So you guys have that resource. But do you guys mind me going into this kind of conversation around tonic herbalism? Because this is where it's at. You want to know like what drives me and what, like, despite the fact that I'm a flamboyant fire type and I'm just creative and you can't peg me down and I don't like organization and structure, why I'm able, like since 2011, I've been doing this same thing at SuperFeast is because I can keep on evolving and I can keep on exploring and I can keep on making it relevant with conversations like this. Because it's like, there's not like a particular path here. There's not like stagnant lessons or things that you can memorize and go, great, tick, I've got my immune system down packed because I take medicinal mushrooms. That is a bullshit approach to medicinal mushrooms. It's a good entry, but over a few years, that's when it's bullshit, when it stays there. We want to make it a little bit more magical and practical because you are all living in a world where you're, I'm guessing, not exactly doing the exact same thing that your parents did, lifestyle or diet-wise. So there is, am I right? Are you laughing because I'm so wrong and you're doing exactly to the T the same thing? But and that's not like, and ideally we've drawn some beautiful wisdom from our parents and traditions, and I especially, like, if there's anyone with Eastern European tradition, I hope you're still like going out there and foraging mushrooms in the wild when it gets to mushroom season, right? We draw beautiful aspects and attributes because it's not something to kick back against where we came from. Integrate to an extent, but to an extent, we have an emerging culture, and you've got emerging personal cultures and family cultures. You are creating new patterns and lifestyle flows for yourself. And it can, that same, you know, where we were talking about the physicality and the glass ceiling that we hit when we're trying to just create a personal culture for ourselves that's ticking all the boxes, we continue to hit a glass ceiling. But when you take it into more a broad sense, in this sense, like in this conversation, kind of like feeling the movement of chi, or feeling the movement of vitality or motion in your body, in your lifestyle, and you can forget the word chi even. Forget the word chi and just feel the other things, just like the movement and the momentum in your lifestyle, in your body, right? Because chi can be too loaded sometimes. Realize that there are aspects of a culture that you're creating and patterns that you're going to be handing down, you know, like to friends, to family, to children, nieces, nephews. That's what you're really creating, not to be attached to like, you have to take on my culture, but you are creating patterns in your own lifestyle, within your own cellular structure, and then you can take off the glass ceiling, because then it gets very long term, and you know that it's going to live beyond you, and you're going to pass those patterns on in one way, shape, or form. And so that's why I talk about this flow of chi through the organs, because ideally that's where, with long-term usage of tonic herbs, like Schisandra, like the herbs in the beauty blend goji, longanberry, Schisandra, and there's a bit of pearl in there as well, just to make it shiny and mineralized from the inside out, microgram pearl. Like herbs like reishi mushroom that are protecting the liver in a viral sense, and chaga mushroom, protecting the liver, highly hepatoprotective, highly antibacterial, especially for that liver organ system, right? Long-term usage of these herbs, at some point you're going to have a glass ceiling if you're only focused on chemical, physical benefits, rather than like a pattern or a song and dance of chi through an organ system like the liver system. Everyone with me there? Song and dance. It's like me going with your health, and just feel your body right now. If I say, let's get you balanced. Let's get you balanced. And then when you get balanced, stay balanced. It's such a limiting statement, because it's like, all right. And I mean, the circumstances change, and it's just like, whoa, stay balanced despite circumstances and a gale blowing in my direction. Not realistic. You need to stay adaptive, and ideally, health is more of a song and a dance, and you need to be able to stay in rhythm. And basically, the way chi moves through an organ system, like the chi moves through, or electromagnetic pulse, or just like, imagine just like a line of energy that, you know, circulates through your body, and particularly in this instance, moving through your liver. In order to make sure that doesn't get blocked or lose its remembering of how to do its function, it forgets its song, it forgets its dance. We have a lifestyle that's ongoingly tending the fire so that chi can continue to flow. So it's like, how long am I have to take your herbs? Fucking forever. Like, not that you have to take them every day. How long am I have to like keep on focusing on water to stay hydrated? Forever. Always. Unless you become a breatharian. And then go for it. Not many people are like aware of breatharians, maybe. It's like, But the reason we're doing that is, yes, we're creating a nice system so that chi can continue to flow through that physical organ, right? Not that we're completely honed in and identified and obsessed with the flow of chi solely. We're also doing it so we can physically keep on living and breathing through that organ as well. But when we start getting blocked through, and this is, I'm under my right rib here, that's my liver. Everyone, if you don't mind, have a little feel of like under your right rib. You can have a little like, and some of you might not have touched your liver for quite some time under your right rib there, in which your liver might be going like, be gentle with me. You have a little feel, just have a little contact. Guys, little caveat, like, you want to get body work, great to work on superficial muscle if you're getting body work, but eventually some of you are going to have to go over and become Taoist Chinna Sung, abdominal organ massage practitioners, and start bringing that deep, like, dig into the organ tissue massage. And you can start doing that as well. Like my partner Tani, she's not practicing right now because we've got a bubba, and it's very emotional work and very energetic work. That's what she does, and it's like a blessing and a curse to have someone that can dig that far with their elbow into a ganglia of nerves in your belly button and untangle that shit, or get in like right into your liver, and you feel the stagnation that you've got in your organs. Like, dig into that. Like, hopefully, we're hoping to start retreats again. I think in Feb we'll probably get one going, and that's when Tani's going to start really getting back into teaching that like self-abdominal massage, and hopefully we'll get some videos coming forth so everyone can access them as well. Just as a little caveat, just so I don't leave you hanging on that one. Or look up, is there anyone doing abdominal massage or Mayan abdominal massage in the area? Very useful. You can just get into your own liver and have a little feel. Is it tense? Does it hurt? It's not good or bad. Just have a little bit of feel of that reality and then work with that feedback, right? And just continue to give it a little bit of a massage. A high intention of mine with tonic herbalism is to ensure that we bring back immunity, which you are generally doing through medicinal mushrooms. You are bringing through, get right under. That's it. It's like, oh, shit. It's like, there it is, hit it. And quite often there's going to be a lot of tension along your abdominal wall, yeah? And it takes some time to get through that. Tonic herbalism, like generally bringing forth an ability for our immune system to be no longer deficient, and that takes lifestyle, but I'm talking about tonic herbalism, through the medicinal mushrooms heavily, so that we can ward off that stress in the body. I like the fact that these herbs are largely classified as adaptogens and have adaptogenic action within the body, especially with the nervous system and the endocrine system and the immune system. It means we start getting some song and dance between those three systems, right? And within them themselves, so that we can deal with the perceived internal stress, external stress, and that via our HPA axis, hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis within the body, which is worth doing a little bit of research into. Or actually Sophia at the SuperFeast office just wrote an article, if you go to the SuperFeast blog, about stress, if you want to look a little bit more into stress and how these herbs work on that level. Restoring that axis so that the glands within your mind and deep within your body, your adrenals, have communication, and that you can deal with stresses or situations where there's pressure or tension, take away the word stress because that's quite loaded, and work with them and adapt to them without being washed over with emotion or reaction. It's a huge aspect of tonic herbalism. It's not a silver bullet, but it's a big piece of the pie in the lifestyle. So we like to bring that forth with medicinal mushrooms. They're working on the nervous system, the HPA axis. Like to bring that forth with Jing herbs, right? Working on the kidneys and the adrenals, really restoring that core energy. And I really like bringing it forth with these herbs that are especially focusing in on that liver system and that detoxification system, like Schizandra berry, like the beauty blend, like reishi. And then you look at the caveats of reishi being a Shen spirit toning tonic. It's used heavily for mental disorders and for anxiety and for chronic mental stress and before sleep, right? Everyone with me? I might get a time check actually. 7:45. Oh, that means we've got time. And so when you dive into this energy that's emerging here in spring, and wood, when we focus on those herbs, I really like remembering that, yes, this is a time of the emerging of yang and expansion. and warmth. That wood element that lives in the liver, the archetype that we can really start getting wrapping our head and our heart around it is the visionary and the warrior. So it's a big time for visioning. And so right now, what happens, I know especially for me, and again, draw this down into your body, these concepts. Don't allow these to become lofty conversations. Feel where this is relevant for you and relevant for the way that the chi flows through your body. Because everything, all the symptoms, or all the disharmony, or all the virtues I'm talking about emerge, and emotions emerge because of a particular flow of chi through a liver system. Everyone dig that? And so, as the energy flows through in this time, you start to really feel the emergence of the desire to get a bit more of a grander vision of your life, right? That wood element is like really looking ahead and getting a big picture. And so at this time of year, after you've been so consolidated in the yin energy and really reflective and sometime in specifics, really I would give yourself permission to get slippery in your mind and your beliefs and start shaking that off, because yang energy doesn't just go up like fire. I mean, spring energy doesn't just go up like fire. It emerges in different directions. It's like a seedling trying to find its way up to the sun. So right now, this is like a stretchy time. And the liver is highly correlated to the tendons and the cartilage. It's a stretchy time to stretch your joints and stretch your chi, because people get pent up and frustrated at this time because it's been so consolidated. It's like, right, I'm so focused and it's been working so well for me in the winter that I'm going to stay this way. But it's like the energy's like big vision. They're like, and you need to adapt with the seasons and the energy of your body right now. And it's been a constant struggle, beautiful struggle of mine to remember to, right, well, I'm still me, but let go of that and embrace the new, right? And this is the time. This is the time of embracing new and embracing creativity. But shaking off, stretching, maybe doing some spinal waves. You know, everyone like the spinal waves? They're really beautiful. Shake your spine. In fact, everyone, you know, it's like annoying when you're in a seminar or something, and everyone goes, now get up and shake and do some of these. What I'm going to ask you to do is just like stand and be annoying, but just like, and then I want you to kind of like just feel your spine right now, and just move from your spine. Just shake from your spine. Start shaking gently from your spine, and now shake a little bit with a little bit more vigor, and a little bit more. Now really from the spine, whole spine. Maybe a little bit of tailbone action. Cervical spine. Now get in there. Yep. Now shake. Let your head, let your neck, your head get into it. All right, and let's go. Now that's springtime, baby. You can generally feel like after a practice like that, right? Rather than like shaking because your mind tells you to shake, or someone told you to shake, but you actually got physical perception. You can actually generally, I feel it. I don't want to project it onto you, but you can generally feel a little bit. Oh yeah, you can feel some stuff going on. Now I loosely call that, you know, like, oh yeah, a little bit of extra flow of chi, a little bit more circulation. But whatever it is, take away the terms. Whatever you're feeling, right? You guys that are nerdy enough to come here and talk about herbalism on Thursday night are actually dedicated to feeling your body. Like it's pretty remarkable in this society, right? When you look at what we're dealing with in terms of just how cut off we are from actually feeling our body and unifying our mind with our physicality and creating a safe space so that our spirit can actually settle around the fire of our heart, create a nice home, and really bring forth our highest attributes or our virtues. Yeah? So just feeling, and take away bullshit terms like Shen and Qi and all that kind of, they're just markers, right? Don't get attached to them. Generally, at some point, it's just feeling and perception. So we've got the liver, we got that Qi moving through the liver, and at times we need to remember this time, when it gets to springtime, when it's time for creativity, it's time for expansion, it's time that maybe just like, all right, you have to some extent, let go of that reflective, consolidating nature of the water element and winter, and you need to start getting into some big picture time. And this is so important for our health, because you're working on your health right now. This is my favorite time. I try and talk about this in winter, and people are like, what are you talking about? I just want to go home to my hot chocolate and blanket right now. But now it's time where it's like you get big picture and you can really start looking down the barrel of the trajectory that you're on with your health, right? You're like, where am I going? Where am I going here? So that's the visionary aspect of this wood element. Very visionary time. Big picture. But don't mistake that for a lack of organization, because the wood element this time is clinically organized in laying out a plan. That's why it is visionary archetype and warrior archetype. Warrior, like, and again, loose. This is like, I'm drawing these archetypes from Charles Moss, who's like, I'm just kind of nerding out of like a lot on at the moment. That book, he wrote that book I told you about, Power of the Five Elements. Visionary archetype, warrior archetype. Warrior, pioneering, really pioneering, new ideas. Being flexible enough to see, like, where am I at? I'm not going to be a wood element that's non-adaptive. It's not in its element. Chi's not flowing through that system. Can't change direction. No, that was the plan. That was the plan. That's the way it was meant to work, and I'm resentful about that now. I'm resentful about the way the world works and the way my health has turned out and all this shit. And I'm angry and I'm frustrated and I'm not going to fucking let go of it. Like, that's a maladapted wood type. Some of you are like, oh, shit. That's right. And like for a long time, I was like, I'm a wood type, because I kind of like, I could feel that really strongly within myself. But, you know, when I got down to it, that wasn't my kingpin. It was like really my elemental type. It was like really, really sat in the fire element. So don't go, that's it, I'm a woody. But it's worth really meditating upon that. You know, you really meditate upon those emotions. I found it really empowering when I really started realizing that these emotions that were emerging, an aspect of them had something to do with the way the chi was moving through my body and the way that intelligence of that chi had either forgotten how to really sing and dance and move in an adaptive sense through that system, or whether it remembers. And that's like a big remembering process for that maladapted chi, which brings forth maybe some frustration, resentment, anger, won't forgive, just won't let go of a gripe. And you just meditate on that and feel that. And you're not that you're going to be like, oh, yep, there goes the chi. It's moving up my gallbladder. You know, it's on the south side of the liver now. It's just a general sense. Get as close as you can when you're meditating on this, and feel that possibly getting into more of an adapted space where it's like getting into rhythm a little bit more. And the general sense of what it feels like in the liver wood system when that gets into rhythm is patience, forgiveness. There are those virtues that emerge forth, not because you tell yourself to forgive and not that you tell yourself to be patient, that it emerges because the chi's flowing through your liver system. You dig? So that's like, you have an intention, you go in for like a meditation or your herbal practice, like having a reishi chamomile tonic before bed, right? Not with this mental, I want this to bring me patience, but to bring space for perception for the result to come forth without your agenda. Yeah. What? What just happened? I don't remember anything that I just said. And it's an important one at this time because visionary comes out, and regardless of whether you think you're a woody or not, I saw this awful thing on the internet the other day. It was hilarious. That someone tagged me in of something. It was on Instagram, It was like on like one of those pages called like drunk people doing things, and someone's mate had passed out, and they had them in a puppeteering thing, and they had like him with Andy written on the bottom, and he was like they making him Woody from the Toy Story, and like dancing him around. So whenever I say wood element or Woody now, I just think of that. Sorry, tonic herbalism, not drunk people doing things. So at this time, it's important to remember that it is highly creative, that you are really emerging from a little bit of beautiful darkness within yourself, and it's time to get a very expansive view of whatever's relevant to you right now. It doesn't need to be revolutionary, despite the fact of whether you're a wood-dominant element or not. That's the energy right now, and it's worth embracing to the extent that it's relevant in your life. And that comes with some caveats that for some people, when you get to this point and you feel a real blockage, right? Yes, we can bring in some herbs to support that liver system. I've mentioned them. What's one herb that's going to support the liver? Schizandra. Yeah, Schizandra. Reishi is, and the blend? The Mason's blend is hepatoprotective, and the other cleansing blend? Beauty blend. Yeah, so there's some examples there of what you can be working with in a herbal sense, but at some point it's a really nice time to consolidate what's going on in your life, and at some point it might get clear, especially at this expansive time, of what may need to alter in your external world, right? And in your circumstances. Or if you feel like you actually have the creative freedom to move in your, career, or, in your health philosophy. Do you have the actual creative freedom to move in your health philosophy, or are you so stuck in your beliefs and your dogma of the way that it's meant to work? And therefore you get angry and frustrated about the fact that it's not working. These are beautiful times to be really bringing this up. And that warrior comes through and pioneers new, flexible ways to do things, right? In order to really, really serve and get some contribution to yourself and the community. Cool? Is everyone feeling that wood element? Is everyone getting a sense of it? Let's dive in now, because detoxification, it's hard to kind of hone in on a particular region on the body in where that occurs. Liver is that major organ. Yes, we talked about those two archetypes. The other archetype in TCM that's spoken about is it being the general of the organs, where the heart is the emperor, just sitting there going, yes, yes, I'm the emperor. I rule all. The general's generally doing yeah, go on you mate. Actually doing all the work and actually organising everything and telling the chi to go here and telling the hormones to go here and that hormone to come out of, out of circulation, or yes, we're going to recycle that, and no, we're not recycling that. That's out of the body. We're delivering that to the, to the small intestines, and that goes out of the body. It heavily starts with the liver. I like focusing on that aspect of the body, and then that does lead down to our digestive tract. Yes, the mouth to anus. In your booklets, you've got a little bit. I've added a little bit about gut healing protocols. I'm not going to go too deeply into them, but there's some clues there. Aloe vera, beautiful, fresh aloe vera leaves, soothing the digestive tract and the epithelial cells of the gastrointestinal tract. Colostrum powder, another beautiful one. Chia seeds. But medicinal mushrooms, again, guys, for lifting on-site immunity in the digestive tract, really beautiful aspect of these tonic herbs. Chaga mushroom, amazing for the digestive system. Reishi mushroom, likewise. Lion's mane, that's the nootropic smart mushroom for the mind. For regrowing nerves, nerve growth factor. A lot of beautiful research behind lion's mane. It's used clinically for ulcers within the stomach, right? These medicinal mushrooms, more and more and more, we see the link to them being implicated with digestive healing. largely due to the fact that they're prebiotics. The polysaccharides within the medicinal mushrooms are prebiotics, very primordial prebiotics for our good bacterium. And there's also receptors within our gut tissue, which lymph-based receptors, which allows for on-site immunity in the gut to be restored. Stimulated, but stimulated is generally the wrong term, because you're going to see clinically that it does stimulate because most people are deficient on that level. But if you are just hitting a receptor and filling it with what it needs in order to be active, the intelligence of the immune system is present. So it's not going to just be offhandedly lifting the immune system when it's not necessary, because the intelligence of the immune system is present. That's why medicinal mushrooms generally, and I'm kind of feel good saying this now because I've spoken to so many practitioners about it, are safe during autoimmune conditions where the immune system is attacking the body, right? Now, if you look at traditional classifications of medicinal mushrooms like reishi, it's an immune stimulant. Can't take that. It's like, that's not a really clear or true representation of that herb. It's also not taking into consideration dosage. Like if you are smashing a huge teaspoon, yeah, maybe that's not going to be the most beneficial thing off the bat, but a nice small dose, lifting dose, you are generally going to be working on a line of the immune system that isn't implicated for worsening autoimmune conditions, right? And so it's the same in the gut there. You start, and it's the same for the immune system in general. You get onto these immune mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, tree mushrooms, not psychedelic mushrooms, not portobellos. Got me? Just in case I didn't talk about it, everyone's like, oh shit, man, I thought we were talking about psychedelic mushrooms this whole time. It's like, two people just walked out. When you start hitting these receptors, it's one of the reasons why they're so popular right now, because it's a food that works with the intelligence of the immune system. Seems to be a herb and a food that we have a very primordial ancient relationship with and that we co-evolved with. Our immune system co-evolved with. Much like the cannabis tree, right? That we have receptors in our body for cannabinoids, endocannabinoid system. The receptors within our body, there are receptors that are seemingly, purely and perfectly designed for polysaccharides in their whole form, hitting receptors within the gut, and then even more perfectly designed for when those aspects, those polysaccharides, or more specifically, beta-glucans, all right? Beta-glucans, specific type of polysaccharide that's present in nature, specifically, uniquely present in medicinal mushrooms, not just medicinal mushrooms, right? This is what makes the immune system sing, the beta-glucans. It's why we grow our medicinal mushrooms on wood, not grain, because grain gives false readings of beta-glucans. You get starch rather than the actual beta-glucans. Why we've got to grow it on its natural medium, its natural food, on wood. Everyone dig? Even more so amazing is when, and perfect for the polysaccharides and why we see coevolution, is macrophages within the gut, immune cells, gobbling up those beta-glucans, metabolizing them, going into the deep immune system and basically shitting them out, and then that metabolized, nice sheathed beta-glucan hitting deep immune receptors within the innate immune system, the deep constitutional immune system, and activating and nourishing on that level. Again and 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 again. And that's where we get an accumulated benefit over time, where the immune system starts to get its flow of chi back and its song and dance back. And then we can start getting a silver bullet. Doesn't mean like nothing's ever going to happen to you, but it's better than not having that receptor hit. And be a little bit more apt at dealing with viral load, pathogen load. Is it going to be perfect straight away? Well, I don't know. Maybe your immune system's going to go to deal with a lot of shit that's been in the closet for a while and spring clean. Perfect time for spring cleaning. That's why sometimes if you're feeling strong, go for it. If you've got space and you don't have to be at work, go for it. Fast on reishi like I did. If not, if your constitution is feeling a little bit tired, needs some restoration, go slow, nourish. Be perceptive of that shit, yeah? But that seems to be why the medicinal mushrooms are so amazing, why they are a very beautiful long-term strategy for embodying detoxification. I don't necessarily say springtime, smash medicinal mushrooms because they're going to really help move that, move like the toxicity through the liver. They don't necessarily have a springtime feel. I kind of more like them as a bread and butter. And that might be a 3-day raised artisanal, biodynamic bread and grass-fed butter, of course. But a bread and butter of my immunological detoxification protocol. The immune system's strong, your detoxification pathways are going to be strong as well, right? Huge part of ongoing embodied detoxification. So again, I've given you guys, I'm not finishing, but that had a bit of a finishing tone. And in the notebook there, I can share it with you guys if you want later, but just write to me. So I'm not showing much respect to the Facebook crew. They got notebooks. And sorry, I decided I had too many requests, people going and don't worry, the audio's not bad if you're worrying about, why do they get it? The audio's shit. You guys are getting the really experience. And notebooks. But in the notebooks there, I've got detoxification pathways for you to consider, right? And correlating to elements as well. The bowels, skin, kidney, bladder, so on and so forth, and the lungs, the air element. When we talk about the lymph, that's in there with some additional strategies and things for you to use to open up a pathway. Yeah.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
Your herbs at this stage, which I've been using for a little while, I put those in a thick shake. Should I not? Would they work better not in a thick shake?
Yeah.
Take them.
It's a good question. And so it's like using the herbs for a while.
Yeah.
How should you use them? You've been putting them in a thick shake. I assume it's not a McDonald's thick shake. I'm joking. I know it would be.
Very right.
That would be for sure. Go and put the reishi in your caramel thick shake. No, it's a good question.
Osteoarthritis, so I have other things in there.
And I don't mean to jest off the bat with that because it's a really good question. The herbs are where needed to be dual extracted, otherwise single extracted, they're bioavailable. And so putting them in a thick shake or a smoothie, you're good. You're getting the benefits driving in there. Whether it's a green smoothie or anything like that, I've got mums putting them in spag bowl and casserole and bringing them in that sense. They're not heat sensitive, and it's a beautiful way to do it. In saying that, I do find it a little bit more effective personally when I have a hot tonic with the herbs in it.
Okay.
So and then I'll blend them up. And so I'll for instance, now 30 days of Jing is over where I can get back on caffeine. Stimulants. I'll go back to having a hot chocolate, raw cacao, all good stuff. I've got recipes up on SuperFeast, you can get those. And make a hot chocolate with medicinal mushrooms in that. And I've got my nice hot, warm tonic that I drink. The body seems to open up a little bit more to that, and it dips into that tradition that humans have where, we'll sit down to drink our herbs every day in a warm tonic. Like we sit down and drink a warm chai, hot chocolate, warm coffee, warm tea. It's just there ensconced, and the body just opens up to it a little bit more, and I really like that. You can take, I'm not sure what you're taking, but whether it's lion's mane, chaga, reishi, jing herbs, they work really well in chai. They work really well in teas. You can just mix them with hot water and drink them like that, or add a little bit of honey and drink them like that. If I'm talking about Schizandra berry and beauty blend, I prefer to either put them in a smoothie because they mix a little bit more into that. I don't have a lot of smoothies because coming out of winter, the coldness doesn't vibe with me so much. I'll have more now we're getting into spring and summer. I'll either put them in that, or I'll do a warm lemonade in the morning. So I'll do my Schizandra berry, warm water, honey, maybe a pinch of sea salt, and stir that up, and that's how I'll drink it. So it's just a really warm, welcoming drink. And And that's reasonable for me because I'm so obsessed with my tonic herb practice. But I found a lot of people find it useful as well when they get to the point where it's like, cool, I'm not just putting it in, it's not just another thing that's going into a smoothie, although I do that as well. That's not a bad thing. But it's like, I'm going to have like a hot tonic, a hot herbal elixir, and there's a little bit more intentional time or slowing down that revolves around it, even if it's like a little bit. And I mean, that's one of the little caveats that I like to do it. You know, at the same time, whenever we're making like a treat or like, you know, Tani bakes here and there, she'll just sprinkle, you know, she'll put astragalus in there and Trojan horse astragalus into our daughter, you know, and it's fair enough to do those kinds of things. So in the end of the day, that's my recommendation, is to go for like a hot elixir, but even more important is to work with whatever's going to really be sustainable for you to do long term in your lifestyle and for your family to do long term. So we were talking about medicinal mushrooms, we were talking about the immune system, how important that was for detoxification. We were talking about how there are those 4 detoxification pathways that that I identify. That, you know, of course, there's many pathways and there's many aspects to this conversation. But generally, from a herbal sense, when it comes to digestion, medicinal mushrooms is kind of where we land in terms of our primary treatment or support for that healing. At the same time, if I want to support the foundations of healing in the body, what energy am I toning or what kind of herbs am I using? Jing. So remember that jing, that capacity for any organ to really go forth and keep on rocking its thing. We need to support the kidneys. We need to not be excessively stressed. We need to be sleeping correctly, and that's why we like, if you're feeling depleted, if you're really working on like restoring your digestion or something like that, we do recommend a jing herb, like Hisha Wu or the Jing blend. Really help that along, really help support that function. I talk about the skin as a detoxification organ. Now, if your skin is heavily congested, I do like the Beauty Blend and Shazandra, whichever you're vibing, especially if you're vegan, because we have microground pearl from oysters in the Beauty Blend. The Shazandra is what you land on. Otherwise, the Beauty Blend is a few other herbs, just particularly specializing in that liver system. That has a lot to do with ensuring that you don't get congestion in the skin, congestion through the liver. First of all, we were talking about vision. Sorry, let's just like rewind. We were talking about vision before, right? Vision during the springtime, vision of your life and your health practices. That meridian line coming up from the liver specifically, ends at the eyes. And so literally that whole visual cortex is connected with your liver function. And so that blurred vision or that tension through that region, or tension, like, you know, indicative of that congestion through the liver is the migraines and the consistent headaches. This isn't like a diagnosis, isn't saying this is like it's the liver, but that's a clue, right? Especially if the chi is like coagulated or blocked through that region, it's worth looking into. And so that I just needed to bring forth that vision because that's always just a nice clue for people. But liver congestion, if the toxicity is moving through your body, the plastics, the PCPs, plastics, well, yeah, those people. No, I'm sure they're lovely. And we've all been there. They're just celebrating. Bless their cotton socks. The phthalates, right? The heavy metals, the radiation to an extent. In order to keep this, we got to stay slippery. You got to stay slippery and open. You need your organ function rocking, and you need to know, like, we don't want tension. We don't want to be like, oh, can't get in there. You want to be able to get in there. You want it to be soft and spongy. That's why we don't like the, like, ripped look. Despite the, like, I mean, I'm a little ripped, just like if I lift up my shirt, you'll see a little six-pack on my liver. That's like, my liver's pretty ripped. But it's soft and spongy at the same time. You can get in there because it's flowing. is not congested. We want and that's like, well, how do I do that? It's just like, get out of your head and get in your body and flow and just keep on massaging, just keep on taking note over the years of when you're feeling tense and ensure you stay as spongy as possible with the appropriate amount of firmness, right? When you stand, you know when to still stand your ground. You've got strong bones and joints at the same time. It's that middle ground. But you make sure that you have that sponginess and that organ function so that you don't congest it. You don't get congested and have little pockets and areas of the body where this toxicity can really accumulate and firm up. Yeah? And included in that is the accumulation of stagnated, repetitive motion of blocked chi that keeps on bringing rise to dysfunctional emotions. In this instance, like looking at the liver organ, like anger, resentment. And then the only way that chi remembers how to do its thing is just resent. That's the only way it knows how to move. Otherwise, you die. Right? It's a good mechanism, but get in and deal with it. I'm in there dealing with it. It's harrowing at times, but it's just chi. It's just your organs trying to do your thing, right? It's just an element, remembering how to sing and how to dance. Might take years, might take decades, but dig your heels in and keep on going. I think it's worth it. In order to keep those environmental toxins flowing through the body, it's very important for us to just always keep a gentle consideration of our liver. Everyone's feeling that. Talk about some herbs. There's other herbs in the booklet that aren't from our range, and other supplements and things that you can work on. Now, if at any point you're confused about anything, because that is definitely not meant to be as like an exact guide, it is just literally throwing out different things for you to consider. It's like, holy shit, I got to take all of this. It's like, no. It's like definitely not the intention there. If you're at all confused, I still run the messages on SuperFeast, on the SuperFeast Instagram. You can write on there, or you can email SuperFeast and ask it to be forwarded to me, and I can help you with those, like even if it's a non-SuperFeast tonic herb detox strategy question or product question, I'm always happy to help with that, okay? So I just wanted to kind of make sure I'm giving you guys as many resources as possible, because there's beautiful things in there. I mean, like, working with like MSM, which actually is in the SuperFeast range still, because it's a thorn in my side that I can't get rid of, because it's the only tonic herb. It's the only non-tonic herb in the range. I love it, but every time I try and get rid of it, because I'm like OCD about only having tonic herbs, everyone's like, no, we love it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I love it as well. It's sulfur, methyl sulfonal methane, amazing detoxifier, amazing supporter of phase 2 detoxification of the liver, methylator to help toxins and estrogens move through the liver system, help to dissolve bad calcium deposits within the body. Now, MSM is magic for going in when there's like heavy arthritic load or blockages within the arteries of the heart, barnacles within the heart, stones. Now, I'm not saying it's a treatment. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what I mean behind like calcification, barnacles in the body. Bad calcium, right? You're stagnant, things starts to really build up and ossify and firm up. That's when, like, you saw me doing like a spinal, what do they call it? Like a little bit of spinal flow before. That's when, like, when it's ossified, it's like you can't really get much mobility there, because you've started to get little barnacles in through the joints and around the bone. That's not good or bad. That's just a reality of sometimes what happens. That's why we have a physical practice, right? That's why we have a lifestyle where we move consistently. It's in there in the lymph section of the detoxification elements, right? Yes, it's good to move for half an hour a day and doing your exercise, but having a lifestyle where you are moving consistently, maybe shifting from sitting in a chair to standing, to sitting on the ground, or just trying to move, as much as possible, not being obsessed, but just having it be something that happens without you thinking about it, and make sure that's accessible to you over years. That's relevant, right? to ensuring that you don't get a build-up of that calcification. And yes, we use things like MSM to treat it. Or topically, we might use DMSO to treat arthritis, right? That's DMSO. Worth researching. Doing a lot of research because it's not one to muck around with. Zeolites, fulvic acid. We might use these things in a treatment sense, right? But ideally, if we have a physical practice and yes, a lifestyle and hydration, but a herbal practice that is working on our organ systems that can also ensure that we are lubricating, have a strong immunity so we don't have nanobacteria moving into these inflamed places in the body and then calcifying it, right? That we have a liver that can continue to move out these calcium-forming organisms in the body that wish to bring about stagnation of qi. Nanobacteria, viral load, not bad things, natural reality of being an ecology, right? That's why we like focusing on organ function first and lifestyle first. That's why I like these herbs. But it's also why I do like MSM, because this world is crazy toxic and sometimes we can use a little bit of support, right? Like likewise, why we've got support from Taoist tonic herbs that are grown in like wilderness China. That's like a massive mushroom-shaped elephant in the room at the same time. It took me a while to get my head around it, but my head is wrapped around it so hard right now and my heart's behind it, and I see the relevance and I really love bringing it to the world, and especially bringing it to this culture here where we are, in Australia and all around the world. But in order to bring that potent skin health, I do like first focusing on the liver, okay? And ensuring that that organ system is nourished and flowing. But it's important considering that if you are heavily congested in the skin, and if it's just a problem detox pathway for you, it's not living and breathing, that the lungs are the primary system that govern the skin, okay? And it's worth focusing in on the lungs. If that's an area, if it's a real area that it'll come around in cycles, and it might be, right, it's time to focus on the lungs now. It's time to focus on the skin now. Maybe you're like, all right, let's do some liver work. All right, now I'm working on the lungs and I'm working on my skin. And in that case, from the tonic herbs, astragalus, primary qi lung tonic, right? So I was talking about herbs toning, one of the three treasures. Astragalus, toning qi primarily, vitality, circulation through the body, circulating immunity, lungs and spleen, transforming intake of nutrients into qi that we can turn into vitality, right? So we don't rely on burning our jing in order to get through our days. Everyone feel me on that? Cordyceps, another beautiful lung tonic, crosses over into being a jing tonic at the same time. Oh my gosh, what can this herb not do? That's a big part about why I like, as I said, seeing people who are like elderly, 70 plus on cordyceps. It's toning lungs, right? And toning kidney adrenals. So we're able to bring forth more oxygen getting into the blood, more energy being produced via the cells, via the mitochondria, more ATP conversion, more stamina and energy in general. Very important, I find, at those stages of life. And the kidneys do generally govern the brain tissue as well. And so if you want to be like really protecting from neurodegeneration or generally supporting the potentiation of the brain, always got to have your roots deep. That's the kidney energy primarily. And then if you want to go more specifically into the brain tissue and supporting that, supporting the grey matter, white matter, nerve endings, any degeneration, then that's when you're going to be looking at like lion's mane or neural nectar, which I think you sold out of already. If they need more, where's the shop? It's cool, you got a good resource here. Aberdeen Street, like the Happy High Herbs Northbridge. You can find it on Google as well. It's just good. Yeah. It's good because and you can ask Lil, like if there's anything in particular you want, you can ask and Lil can bring it in for you. Because it's like, now or 5? Bang, 5, cool. I'm going to go with that one because it gave me 5. Not it, your hand. No. No, I don't put it in the blends. MSM is a standalone. Yeah, I just do it as a standalone. It's like it's just a white powder, white sulfur powder. I don't know if you have it or not, but I was just going to say, like, if you need anything in particular, if there's any particular sizes that you want, Lil can bring them in for you because it takes us a while to ship over from to WA. So it's good that you've got a resource that you can get it real quick, and also someone that's willing to like bring other ranges or sizes or anything that you're wanting. So MSM is sulfur, a mineral, the beauty mineral, it's sulfur. You know, it's really great for skin, great for hair, great for nails. Why? Because it works on the liver. You get the liver really pumping, liver looks better, nails especially get really nice and strong. They're really highly correlated with the liver. So when we were talking about the lungs there, another one I really like, astragalus cordyceps, another one just worth looking at if you feel you need lubrication through your lungs, tremella mushroom. So it's a standalone. I don't have that in the Mason's mushrooms. Tremella mushroom, jellyfish mushroom, beauty mushroom, dessert mushroom. It tastes bloody delicious. Too good for it to be good for you. Like kind of like eat it out of the bag kind of good. You know what it's like. Have you done the you spoon it into your mouth from the bag and do the whole Milo cough that you used to do? It's like, it's just like it goes everywhere. Very fun. But you actually can do it like that and it kind of tastes like a nice vanilla, like milk drops. Remember milk drops? That kind of has that kind of vanilla-y vibe to it. Beautiful lubricator of the lungs, beautiful lubricator, bringing yin to the stomach and the digestive tract. More more effective than hyaluronic acid in assisting the body and the organ function in holding moisture in the skin and in the fascial tissue. So if you get to that point, you're really needing moisture in through your lung or your skin, therefore your lung, tremella is a really beautiful resource for you there. That skin as a detox system, check out those practices we have in there to get that living and breathing. We've also got those practices in there for you to be working on the actual respiratory system and that detox, that direct lung detox pathway, right? And just make sure that you're excreting those airborne toxins that come in through your lungs. And we're also got a little bit in there about working with the colon. We've kind of covered that a lot with the in the digestive system with the medicinal mushrooms, and that correlates to the liver as well. But there's some other things in there to really bring some mucilaginous herbs and compounds in there, really lubricate, restore that organ tissue, that deep, colon, small intestine organ tissue. So you're really rocking in that sense. And then we've talked about kidney tonics, right? We've talked about kidney tonics. Therefore, that urinary pathway of detoxification, but there's also some suggestions in there about liver cleansers. There's kidney cleansers. There's also liver cleansing recommendations in there. Lots of resources for you guys to go home and tune into. But I really hope that I've given you a nice, deep, sink your teeth into it idea of how we approach detoxification at this time of year and spring cleaning around tonic herbalism and this philosophy, and not just tonic herbalism, throw that terminology out, but just like why we're bringing it into our lives when we're living in this culture and this world, why we find it's relevant, why I find it sexy and fun, and I hope you find some of that fun in it too, and just find the relevant ways, regardless of the terminology, to just get it into your world, if it fits. And it's not even about these products, just herbalism in general. Herbs that you can fit that intention to and then invite it into your lifestyle for the long term. I'm going to hang around, so I think we've got a while here. There's some herbies out the back, and Lil's little team's going to be there rocking it. And I'm going to hang around and answer any questions. And I'm really stoked you came out. And I'll catch you next time. Yeah. Thanks everyone. So
much fun. See you guys.